This is my final report, but last ditch effort to get people to get out and vote for Trump, support Trump. He just made a good point today. It came out with a problem today with Obamacare. They say that Bill Clinton came out when he was campaigning for Hillary. I heard him say that it's so expensive, the costs have gone up so much, and the people can't afford it. People minimum wage can't afford it, and the prices have gone way up. And Clinton admitted it, and then Hillary they said she had very little that she was going to do to fix it. Here's the thing. Here's the problem that Trump brought out that's wrong with it, and Jill Stein brought this out too. It's a boondoggle, and the reason why Obamacare is a boondoggle it is because it has to do with there was campaign finance corruption influence. There were the lobbyist influence when they created Obamacare, when they created the rules of it. So that actually the campaign money was, there's corrupt influence when it was designed. And Trump is the only way you can stop the corrupt. Also, this has to do with the government pays out through Obamacare, which means it bankrupts the government. It takes too much money out of the government, and so the reason, it's like BANDAID on cancer. What this Obamacare is, it's like when you have a mole, it's bleeding, you put a BANDAID on it. You think that's going to cure the mole? It doesn't. You have to get to the core of the problem. And the crux of the problem has to do with the pharmaceutical industry, and they're making laws that stop the competition. They seize up Congress, and then the revolving door. They take and hire people that come out of Congress and pay them 5 or 10 times what they're making in Congress, if they'll do everything for the pharmaceutical industry. So they've got that seized up. It has to do with the hospital mergers. The AMA and the powerful AMA lobby, one of the most powerful lobbies that give more campaign money than any other lobby. That's where the trouble is. Well, Trump has come out, and he has said that he wants term limits on Congress. And he has also said that he wants laws against the revolving door, which means, if someone goes to work for the pharmaceutical industry, they go to jail. He wants that. Well, that's the only way you can stop. That's the only way you can stop the cost going up. That's the way you can save the government money so you can balance the budget. You have to get to the crux of it. Hillary hasn't mentioned either one of these things. And so Trump's getting the top, and even Jill Stein. That's where Jill Stein and him have overlap. She pointed out it was a boondoggle, and that's the reason, because of the campaign finance corruption influence. But if you term limits on Congress and cut it way down, Hillary hasn't offered anything like this, and she hasn't gotten to the crux of it. She hasn't even brought out where the problem is. The other thing. Trump has also said that he wants to get out of the WTO. He wants a fair trade balance with China. He wants to stop the foreign lobbyists. And Hillary's not mentioned any of these things. He wants to tax everything that comes in from Mexico. If a company goes to Mexico, he wants taxation on it. Hillary hasn't mentioned this. And that Disney makes their stuff overseas. They don't want a tax. They don't want... And Disney owns ABC. The main supporters of Hillary Clinton are W. Bush or H.W. Bush, and he's the one that Bush was the one that caused the Citizens United case by putting 2 corporate lawyers in the Supreme Court, Alito and Chief Justice Roberts. The reason they're in there to protect big oil, and so that's why they support Hillary. They know she's in bed with corruption. The people who want corruption in the country know a lot more who to support than anyone else. Those businessmen know who's in bed with them. They know because they deal with them. They've been dealing with them. They know more than these people on YouTube that think, that think Hillary's the one to vote for. I trust them more because they have firsthand experience, and even Trump tried to get campaign money from Wall Street that would give it to him because Trump would get a bunch of campaign money from him and then screw him over one side and down the other, which he should do, and he'd go back the next time. Hey, you got any more campaign money? I could just see Trump doing that. That's probably what's going to happen. But anyway, and they knew enough not to give it to him. Well, Trump's the one to vote for all these reasons. The other thing is that they have, let's see, that the corporate America with all these are real aggressive attacks at corruption. Hillary hasn't done anything like this. His platform is the same thing as Ross Perot. Well, corporate America, they knocked off Ross Perot, and the way they did that, they started a campaign against him saying he was paranoid. That way no one would vote for him, and that way he wouldn't have any sovereignty and wouldn't have a platform that the other two would adopt, because everybody would think he was paranoid and nobody would believe him. And it worked. It was a successful negative campaign. They also kept him out of the debate. They created the 15% rule, and he named every last corporation that was involved in that 15% rule that kept him out of the debate. Well, and Bernie Sanders got in, and they gave a bunch of campaign money to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or the DNC, and then knocked Sanders off through election tampering. And they're going to do the same thing with Trump. And this Hillary Clinton just got a whole bunch of campaign money from the 1%, and that's why she's ahead in the polls. She's way ahead, and it has to do with the campaign. So that means everybody that's listening to these negative campaign ads, and that's why she's ahead, they're putty in the hands. In other words, the 1% is giving campaign money, and they're convincing the 99% to vote for Hillary when Trump has his own campaign money, and she has 1.5 times the campaign money, 1%. 1.5 times the campaign money total, running against Trump, and that's why she's ahead right now. Well, it turns out that if you look at the polls, okay, ABC is owned by Disney, and they make their stuff overseas. They don't want taxes on stuff. It's a business interest. It's an ugly conflict of interest, axe to grind, hidden agenda, ulterior motive. They don't want him. They don't want Trump in there. Well, Time Warner, same thing. They don't want him in. And the other one, Comcast, they lobby the government. They don't want term limits on Congress either. None of those do. So they're running poll. They brought out polls last week that said Hillary's 12 points ahead. Well, it turns out the real Clear Politic poll has Trump 5 points ahead, which is right on the margin of error. And you add to that the pendulum effect. That means that if one party is out of office for 8 years, that party is more apt to get out and vote than the other party, which is very often complacent because the other one's been out 8 years. So they're more apt, and that would make up the deficit of Trump only being, within the margin of error, right on it. So if Hillary's edge isn't all that great, well, you notice they don't tell you that. They haven't brought this out. They leave that totally off. They want you to think that Hillary's 12 points ahead when Real Clear Politic the average poll had him only 5 points. And they didn't bring out, it was within the margin of error right on. They didn't bring that out, and they don't bring out the pendulum effect. None of those things. Because they don't want you to get out and vote. But what people need to do is not paying attention to that, and these corporate communists that own the media and are lying to everybody about the polls. Also, they say that they call 20% more Democrats than Republicans, and they're 20%, only about 10% more voted for Obama. So that means that 5 million Mexicans moved into the country since Obama came in. I know there's a lot of Mexicans here. I don't know. I mean, I like every other person here in town's a Mexican. But is that 5 million? Have 5 million Mexicans really come in since Obama? I doubt it. So, but I don't know if they believe that or not, that they're calling, that many, that it's that far off in that respect. But certainly by those other two things, Trump stands a good chance of winning. And they're not telling you quite the truth. And there was someone on Fox News who's predicted every election for the last, since 1960, and got every one of them right. And he says Trump's going to win. And one of the factors he said was the pendulum effect. I knew about it a long time ago. Well, I mean, that if the Republicans are afraid of never getting back in, they're going to get out and vote. Well, Democrats don't care that much. They've been had a Democrat 8 years. They don't care, and so by that, I definitely go vote. And Trump has a real good chance of beating Hillary. A lot better than the press is making it look. The press constantly just makes it look like it's over. But remember who's talking. It's corporate America. and the corruption, the corrupt corporate people that don't want him in, that don't want term limits. The other thing, let's see, what's his name? Chris Wallace came out in the debate and said Trump had no reason to worry about election tampering. He said, well, you're going to make sure we don't, because Chris Wallace is more likely a Hillary supporter. He's a Jewish guy. Mike Wallace is Jewish, I'm pretty sure. The Jewish race does not like Trump. I haven't found one yet. Sanders, I don't think any Jewish people like Trump. And they don't want Trump to illegitimize Hillary. Well, there's the guy, and he says, well, we've never had any election tampering. Well, apparently, I got flies in my room that have a better memory than Chris Wallace. What about Gore? And what about Johnson had election tampering in his campaign? They look at all the election tampering and Nixon and Watergate and the Edmund Muskie, and they ruined Edmund Muskie's campaign the same way Hillary knocked Sanders off. So, with all that, they had reports in 11 states that the exit polls were out of tolerance. In 2 of those states, they didn't even release the exit polls because they didn't, it was going to reveal that it was so widespread. So with that alone, there's reason for Trump to be concerned about election tampering. They ought to be watching them like a hawk. There's every reason to believe there's going to be election tampering. And we have a right, to have a legitimate government, and it has to do with popular sovereignty, one man, one vote, and everything else. This time, if corporate America knocked off Trump, and they knocked off Perot, they knocked off Sanders. I thought they had a little bit to do with knocking off McCain. I know our local station had an awfully strong bias against him, and he was the one that put in the McCain-Feingold. They're going to knock Trump off. They're going to do everything they can, and there's evidence there was collusion with the Democrat Party. They had one of the social media owners, and I won't say who it was because I can't prove it, but it wasn't YouTube and it wasn't Google. It was another one, so unrelated, who was doing surveys trying to find out who the Sanders supporters were, and he was a strong Hillary Clinton supporter. He was one of the major donors, one of the top 10 donors to Hillary Clinton campaign. He's in bed with the corruption. He was doing surveys trying to find out the Sanders, there was a theory that they were sending that to the DNC so they know who to not let vote, and I bet that's exactly what happened. But anyway, if they are colluding with them, and you bet they are, Trump needs to watch it. He needs to, watch every little move they're making. People need to report it. There's people on YouTube. You think you're purged off the rolls for any reason? Call up Debbie, the same progressive, or somebody, on YouTube that deals with that. And people need to watch it. Keep their eyes open. Let's see, what else I got to cover? Anyway, this Helmut Norpass was his name. He was on Fox, and he claimed he'd gotten them all right since 1960, but he took into effect the pendulum effect, and he said Trump will win. And I believe him. I think he sounds pretty accurate. But the main thing with Trump, though, and his Gettysburg speech that he made goes a lot farther to fight corruption than anything Hillary's done. He said he wants term limits for Congress. That is a real aggressive move. He said he wants to stop the revolving door, imprisonment or fine or whatever, imprisonment for people that, laws against it, laws against the revolving door. He wants to get a trade balance. He wants to stop the foreign lobbyists. Hillary's not going to do that. She's getting a bunch of campaign money, the leader of China. She won't do that. That'd be, and that's why we don't have a trade balance with China. Trade balance that brings in jobs that, a whole lot of exports, not many imports. That creates a tax base. That balances the budget, and it has to do with our standard of living, and also the amount of wealth in the country. Like I say, the 2 tallest buildings in the world. It has a whole lot to do with it. And term limits on Congress has a lot to do with that, where you have more competition between companies, you have more technological advancement, you have more money in the country, a better ratio of imports and exports as a result of technological advancement. Like I say, if you're more ahead of China and Russia and everybody else with technology, everybody in the world will be buying them from you. Instead of you buying them, instead of us going to Canada to buy drugs, like I said before. And term limits on Congress has a lot to do with that. If they can't seize up Congress, they can't stop competition. And competition is the catalyst for technological advancement, and it's a catalyst for a good ratio of imports and exports. More money in the country. And also acceleration in the economy, acceleration in technology, acceleration in money, all those things that went over before. And Hillary's not doing any of these things. She hasn't mentioned term limits, and don't think corporate America doesn't know that, and that's why they're trying so hard to get you to not vote for Trump and try to make you think Trump's going to lose when it's all a lie. The other thing he said, well, he wants out of the WTO. That has to do with our trade balance with China too. And like I say, the standard of living and the wealth in the country, all those things, all the way to top to bottom. And it helps. What Trump's going to do is going to help Warren Buffett, just like everyone, all the way to the bottom. It helps everybody. Also, they say his tax plan is, according to some tax experts, they say it's going to inspire growth better than Hillary's. But she says, well, he can't balance the budget. He can balance the budget if he gets a good trade balance. Stops the TPP, gets out of the WTO, gets a trade balance. We'll have more, and we won't have jobs going overseas, and we'll have a better trade balance. And both those things, that means more people paying taxes. That means a tax base. So he will balance the budget in that respect. And if he creates growth, that is even more tax money on top of everything else he's doing. Grow through, not taxing the middle class and not taxing businesses and no corporate tax. That creates growth. All those things create growth, which means more tax money in the long run. And in all those ways, he's better than Hillary. Well, anyway, and that's what the media doesn't tell you. That's what they leave out. They don't want you to know about term limits. But anyway, so vote for Trump. I got registered the other day. I'm ready to vote. I hope everybody else out there is too. Thanks for watching.